Hi everyone. This is a video here with Aneta Kahane, and it's from, let's see, it's an RT interview, and this person here has it on their channel, but I've been reading some comments about how bad it really is in Sweden, and some people, one guy was 16 years old and he left because he said he was always getting beat up by some Iranian kid in his class or at his school because he did something wrong in their eyes. So I know this has been going on for a long time, but I don't know, it wasn't really under my radar like it is now with this extreme surge of immigration, you know? And some of these comments here are, okay, this video is from 5 years ago. And some of the comments, why are the Jews doing this? And why are they manipulating society in Europe? Why are they doing this? And, but they won't. Israel is not an open country to immigrants. Who will support Israel when USA and Europe become third world hellholes? Okay, it's really sad. I mean, it's sad. I've been watching a lot of videos and hearing people talk and reading comments, and it's downright scary. Okay, watch what she has to say. Remember, it's 5 years ago, 2010. So, yeah, 5 years ago. All right, here we go. So it's these, Barbara Lerner Specter is another one. Same, exactly the same ideas.
Just briefly, there you are in Germany. Isn't the situation there indicative of the rest of the European continent, where we're actually seeing the EU expanding more and more? How do you now see the future of the issue of immigration developing now across the whole of the European continent, based on what you're seeing there in Germany?
This is a very good point, because immigration is the future. You cannot work and live in a globalized world, in the middle of the world, in Europe, without immigration and moving populations. So you have to really make a good policy of immigration all over Europe, and we see that the history of Europe, with this long history of nationalism and small countries, is now getting into a crisis. So this will need a long time to make it better, but you have to confront this. You have to really change the policy of immigration inside Europe.
Okay, now wait a minute. This says 5 years ago, immigration debate heats up after Merkel says diversity has failed. So what made her change her position and open the borders in in Germany so much? Well, she was forced to. That's all. All these leaders, it's not their own ideas. It's who's behind it.
This is very important. You have to adapt the educational system and adapt all the self-understanding of the states. They are not anymore only white or only Swedish or only Portuguese or only German. They are multicultural places in the world.
Aneta Kahane, thank you very much indeed for sharing your opinions with us live here on RT. Founder of the Amadou Antonio Foundation, joining us there live in Berlin. We appreciate your time. Thank you.
But what she said at the beginning is move people.
How do you now see the future of the issue of immigration developing now across the whole of the European continent, based on what you're seeing there in Germany?
This this is a very good point because immigration is the future. You cannot work and live in a globalized world in the middle of the world, in Europe, without immigration and moving populations. So you have to really make a good policy of immigration all over Europe, and we see this, that the history of Europe, with this long history of nationalism and small countries, is now getting into a crisis. So this will need a long time to make it better, but you have to confront this. You have to really change the policy of immigration inside Europe.
Okay, so they're doing their best to move populations into Europe to achieve the objectives of these people, Barbara Lerner, Spectre, and this person. So I think I need to watch this. What the heck is Barbara Spectre's motivation? And Annetta Kahane. I'm going there. 900 thumbs up, 43 down. Expanded Barbara Spectre section from my previous video.
Now Barbara Spectre, whose name literally means a disturbing or fear-inducing image, says that Sweden must be flooded with immigrants and become a multicultural society.
At this point in time, Europe has not yet learned how to be multicultural, and I think we're going to be part of the throes of that transformation, which must take place. Europe is not going to be the monolithic societies that they once were in the last century. Jews are going to be at the center of that. It's a huge transformation for Europe to make. They are now going into a multicultural mode, and Jews will be resented because of our leading role. But without that leading role and without that transformation, Europe will not survive.
Now, Spectre admits that immigration has been terrible for Jews.
600 kilometers south of Stockholm, Malmö has a tiny and rapidly shrinking Jewish community. 700 Jews live here, amid an influx of Muslim immigrants whose numbers have reached 50,000. This was just the latest in a string of anti-Jewish hate crimes in Malmö, including vandalizing the cemetery, firebombings, graffiti, and verbal abuse in the streets.
She also says that by putting a Jewish face on the Open Borders movement, that she's going to cause Swedish Jews to be resented by ethnic Swedes. So it's a lose-lose for Swedish Jews. Yet she says Swedish Jews must perform this task. So even as the Israeli media and many Israeli politicians are pleading with European Jews to come to Israel because they have their own demographic problems with Muslims, Spectre says, no, stay in Europe and become a sort of political suicide bomber. Use yourself as human kindling for the burning of Europe and turning Europe into a giant funeral pyre. Now, Barbara Spectre is an American who taught Jewish studies at the university level. Her philosophy was that modern Jewish thought is shaped by the Holocaust. Now, she says that there's two entities funding her, the Swedish government, which that's the socialists giving her money, and the Wallenberg Foundation. Well, the Wallenberg Foundation is an educational foundation. It's all about Holocaust education and advocating for Holocaust memorials or advocating that so-and-so not be honored by such and such because he was a Nazi sympathizer, etc. Well, it looks like Spectre is carrying out some kind of ethnic revenge fantasy. Because on one hand, she's written books and papers advocating nationalism for Israel, even ethnic chauvinism for Jews. But then she calls for the eradication of Swedes as an ethnic group and to turn Sweden into a multicultural center. Now this sounds really bizarre, but there is a segment of Jews in America and Europe that see themselves at war with Western civilization, and they think that they are getting revenge for the Holocaust by participating in the flooding of Europe with large amounts of third-world immigration. Now, the Jewish Daily Forward is the largest Jewish publication in the entire world. Back in 2004, they published an article by Daniel Goldhagen, which was absolutely incendiary and demonized all Christians. It said that the crucifix is gruesome, horrifying, unwholesome, unholy, and fetishizes horror and violence. It also says that the Passion Play, which is this beautiful story of Christ's self-sacrifice, is sadomasochistic, is the most heinous calumny in the past 2,000 years. It says people who view passion plays are degrading themselves. Goldhagen demonizes all Christians in this article, but holds particularly venom for Catholics, who he says are the worst of the Christians. And then he says that the billions of Tridentine mass Christians around the world are part of a blood-drenched cult of death. Goldhagen says that the only Christians who can be friends of Jews are progressive Christians who have gone through liberalizing reforms. Now, we can see what Goldhagen's motivations are by the books he's written. He has an entire book blaming Catholics for the Holocaust, and he says that Catholics have an unpaid debt to Jews now. He has a second book in which he blames all German people for the Holocaust. So his motivation is all wrapped around the Holocaust. If a major Christian publication published an article this nasty and this incendiary about any other religion, it would have been condemned by its own readers. For the largest Jewish publication in the world to publish such a hateful article shows that there is a segment of the Jewish population that views itself as being at war with Christianity in Western society. And like Specter and like the Wallenberg Foundation, Hagen wraps his message around the Holocaust. So they think that they're carrying out a revenge fantasy to get revenge for the Holocaust. Please subscribe to my channel. I'm going to make some more videos talking about Britain, Germany, America, Canada, and some other countries. And I've got some exciting people I'm going to be interviewing.
Okay, so the Wallenberg family, I did look them up, and yes, they're very powerful. And to think that they just spell it out right here. Barbara Specter says Jews are behind it, and we're going to be resented for it. And as he explained it, it's kind of a ethnic revenge for the Holocaust or for whatever happened before, and this is being promoted by Jewish activists. What else can I say? All right, the Wallenbergs. Yeah, Wallenbergs. I have to leave that for another time, but this is disturbing because what is happening in Europe, you know? I bought a house there and I thought I was going to go live there in Italy. Back to the Berg. Wallenbergs. Okay, here's a documentary on the family, Wallenberg family. Okay, this probably looks like a good one. Raoul Wallenberg, the Swedish Christian hero who at 32 years old saved as many as 100,000 Jews. Well, we'll all put this together later. But anyway, for now, those Jewish lady activists, Annette Kahane and Barbara Lerner Spector with the horrible name. They're running the immigration show with the help also of George Soros. Like it or not, they're pretending like it's good for Europe, and they're looking the other way at all the tragedy and the crime, because you can't say anything about it. If you say anything about it, you're evil and a racist. It's revenge, it seems. Thanks for watching. God bless. Wow. I don't know what to think about anything anymore. Okay, light and love and cats and kittens.